Awesome. Well, thanks guys for coming. I'm Chris. I know we've been talking and hanging out for a few minutes. I know the, come on in. I know that thing says take control of your story. That was sort of like a selling line for the thing. I don't know, the control thing is not that big a deal. I think it's more just about the importance of telling your story. So that's what we're going to talk about today and go over. And we're also going to do some cool stuff. So if you guys have iPads or whatever, you can try to have some of these apps or play around with them. This is on the presentation document, so if you're in that live queue thing, it's going to be connected to that agenda on the Google Doc. It's basically just a Google slide presentation. And maybe I'll probably change it, probably update it based on feedback or what's on. But it's out there, it's public. I work at Scarsdale now. That was 11 years in the DOE. And we started telling our story when I was at PS10 in Brooklyn. I guess this was 6.5 years ago, where we actually started tweeting as a building and sort of getting the story out there because we were finding that other people were telling our story, and we were getting calls about, oh, we heard this, we heard that, like, where did you hear that from? And people were hearing it from all other places. So that was kind of like we decided we needed to take control of that narrative. And that's kind of where I developed these things, these ideas, and then was successful in Brooklyn. Went to Scarsdale, launched it, been there 2 years now. We've launched the same type of concepts in the elementary school app. And it's done so well the last 2 years. The district, come September, is going to be doing a full district-wide push. We're going to have very intense social media presences across all 7 buildings, as well as the district-level presence. The superintendent's on board. He's having his entire cabinet sign up Twitter accounts, and they're going to start tweeting every day. We're doing this big push to like tell the real story, right? Because there's always these perceptions or misconceptions. I'm sure I could ask people about like what do they know about Scarsdale. There's all like the stereotypes or cliches, right? Just as there are for any school, any park, any neighborhood, right? So that's why it's like I think telling that story and making sure you're telling it is so important. So Heathcote School, and I'll show you some more about it. That's our actual school Twitter account. The Mr_Casal, it's mine, and then Heathcote Tech is my lab one. But don't worry about it. There's going to be, I'm going to show you some more things. You're going to lead with all of this stuff. So, what's our story? Right? We're all going to write a story right now. Right? So, the room's hashtag is NYCST story. Right? So, New York City School Technology story. Feel free. You don't have to stare at me. I totally get it. Right? You can be tweeting, you can be finding, Facebooking, whatever, live cube. We're going to end up telling a story, and we're going to write it. And it's going to be written and published by the end of this. And I'll show you how. And that will sort of be that thing that then you can take away and be like, oh, that was easy. Let's go do that in our building, right? So I've already sort of mentioned this, but I have that up there because I wanted to make sure it stands out. The thing I've always come across is that if you're not doing it, if you're not telling a story, somebody's telling it for you, and they're probably not getting it right. So it's important to be out there and doing it so that you can control it, right? I had to do a PD yesterday about similar topics, and a high school teacher said, oh yeah, I'm not on any of these things, but I know there's a Facebook page of all my students, and all they do is bitch and complain about my class. I'm like, okay, so that's their story. Where's your side of it? She's like, well, I know that like we do good things. I'm like, okay, who else knows that? She said, well, I was like, right. She goes, my parents don't know. I'm like, well, the parents know. She said, no, this Facebook group is closed. I'm like, sure it's closed. Students invite each other. A parent has never looked over a student's shoulder at a Facebook group. Parents never had access to a student's Facebook account. Parents are seeing those complaints about that class. Parents are seeing, you know, those, oh, I'm not going to do my homework because it doesn't matter stuff, right? Parents are seeing that. And she's a great teacher, but there's no narrative coming from her side. So that's the only sort of semi-public story of her class is kind of this student complaint session, right? So that's why it's so important. So a couple of things. Twitter and Vine, those are the ones. And actually, Marge, I'm happy to just flip this. So it's actually better this way because then when I upload it, it'll be right.
Oh, well, you can't see you and the screen.
So then you can just adjust it. That's fine. We're periscoping, right? So one of the things about Periscope, and I'll show you guys, is Periscope is a cool app. It'll let you shoot video properly on Periscope, but when you set it to your camera roll, it turns it sideways. So it's kind of annoying because they sort of get the concept that like you watch television like this, whereas everyone shoots like this. Problem is you have to shoot vertically if you want to have it actually then upload vertically later, which is sort of an annoyance, but whatever. It's technology, it'll change, right? So these are the big outlets, right? Because that's your admin, right? Stories are always told on what? TV, film, newspapers. This is TV, film, newspapers. This is your outlet, right? You still have to have a story to tell. But these are the things, and there's more than this. This is not an all-encompassing list by any stretch of the imagination. Just a few of them, right? So we have this. This is hanging up in our building. This is a list of everyone who tweets. So if you want to know what my school's story is, I'm not going to tell you about my school. I'm going to tell you to go to these places, right? You want to know what a kindergarten classroom looks like in my building? I don't have to tell you. I'm just going to point you there. And then you can literally see what a kindergarten classroom looks like. This is our story, right? And what we do with this is we take all of this and we centralize it around that hashtag. So our hashtag, just like this room, right? We have all these people in this room, but we have a single hashtag. So that's our story. So my building's story is written there. It's written under Heathcote Pride. And it's written by all those authors. These types of things actually hit rubric standards, right? So if you're tweeting from your classroom, that hits both Danielson and Common Core standards. If you let your student write a tweet under the classroom account, that's a Common Core standard, right? If you do a writing assignment around a clear, concise, 140-character message, that could be a writing assignment, right? I had he was a 5th grader when I did it with him. I'll never forget this kid, Eric. Super quiet kid, couldn't get writing out, right? But a smart kid. One of those kids where you go, dude, come on, Eric. I know like there's something in there, like how can we get you to get this out? In my class, this was back in Brooklyn, I had a daily tweet. So every time class came to the lab, I would hand them the lab iPad with a tweet from the lab iPad account. So one person was responsible for going around. So finally Eric's turn. He didn't want to do it, he was the last one to go. So do it, write a tweet. It took me 45 minutes to write a tweet. And want to take a guess at how long the tweet was? It was like 437 characters, right? Like the little red, like the number at the bottom was like minus 430. So I was like, okay, no problem. We sat there for 15 minutes and talked about what he was trying to say, how he could reword it. Maybe we take a picture, so then that way he doesn't have to say everything. He can kind of just eliminate some things and give context to the photo. So for like 15 minutes, we sat there and we reworked this tweet down to 140 characters. We tweeted it. This kid was so excited because I want to do it right now. I was like, what about it? I gotta go. Like, if you're really bad, can I do it tomorrow? I was like, yes. Like, that was a kid who never got writing, never wanted to write, and suddenly he had a story to tell. And it literally was like he just took a picture of the room and told this small story of what was happening in the room at that moment. He spent an hour focused on that story, on that little piece of writing, right? So if somebody wants to know what was happening in my lab that day, I don't even have to tell that story. Eric told that story before me. And then if somebody went up to Eric and was like, so what's the deal? Eric probably would say nothing. He'd probably go, ooh. But I'd be like, dude, Eric. Because he did. He got so into it, right? So that's the type of thing. Like, you can show those stories. So now, where does that all go? It goes here. So if you went to tinyurl.com/HeathcotePride, you would see, obviously not what's happening right now, but you would see what was happening in our building on the last day of school. And then you can scroll down, and you can see what was happening on the day before the last day, and 2 days before the last day, and yeah.
That's Tagboard?
Tagboard.
That's Tagboard.
Yep.
I tried, but I gotta get into it. I mean,
And we're going to flip over and show you guys a bunch of that stuff.
it's a good, it looks like it's got a lot of potential.
So Tagboard is awesome. Tagboard is a service that's a free service for a basic level, or a paid service for tons of management. We've had so much success. So I did this in Brooklyn. I had this in Brooklyn, and when Scarsdale interviewed me, I said in my interview, they were like, do you have any questions for us? I said to them, you've seen what I've done with Twitter and our Tagboard in Brooklyn. And everyone at this big table said, oh yeah, sure, we don't really do social media. I was like, my question is, can I replicate that here? Yeah. Like, will you allow me to do this? They're like, well, what other questions do you have? I was like, no, there are no other questions. I only want to come to a school where we can tell our story publicly. And they said, okay, fine, try it out. So I tried it out. I just finished my second year there. the district has paid for a district-wide premium Tagboard package. So every school will have one of these, as well as the district office, and then just an overall. We're gonna have 10 Tagboards, basically live promoting, telling our story throughout the district. So there's not gonna be one narrative, oh, Scarsdale, a wealthy suburban district. There's gonna be hundreds of people contributing to that overall story, right? And then I'll show you what that looks like in a few minutes. So there's other ones, right? Like Tagboard is nice because Tagboard pulls from multiple platforms. So Tagboard will pull, as long as you have that single hashtag, right? So ours is Steamboat Pride. You can use Flickr, Vine, Instagram, Google+, Facebook. There's so much in this. But anyway, it's on there, I'll show you in a minute. So you don't have to say to somebody, you have to tweet. In Brooklyn, we had a couple of art teachers who didn't really tweet, they had Instagram accounts. No problem. Use the hashtag, it goes to the tag. These other ones are a little bit more like Twitter specific. But Twitter's great, right? If you have people who aren't really sure what to do, Twitter's really easy to get people started. And I actually just, before this started, I posted on my blog 3 infographics I created to help people sort of step-by-step guides on how to get started with Twitter. So if you are on Twitter, you're kind of new to it, but no one else is that you're building, take my stuff, use my stuff as like your PD materials. It's an easy entry point. But Tagboard's great because it doesn't limit people to just Twitter. They can use any of these other platforms. March.
Okay. First of all, can you repeat the hashtag, because we've just had a couple of people walk in the room?
Heath Coat.
No, for today's session.
Oh, today, NYCST story. So like New York City School Technology story. That's what it is. NYCST story. I always have to write these things down because every PD I do, there's a different like.
Yeah, why don't you put it up on the?
Oh, on one of these things?
Yeah.
Sure. Over here. So like yesterday, the last 2 days, I was doing a session similar to this, and we had a hashtag for that.
Yeah.
So I always tend to goof on these things. NY, New York City School Technology Story.
Okay. Okay, the second question is, the one that always gets thrown to me, don't I have to have permission from every single parent to have pictures of the kids that I end up tweeting about?
Sure. Of course you do. So, what I would say is, I don't know how your schools do it, but I remember when I was in Brooklyn, in the packet that went home beginning of school was that photo consent form, right?
Right away.
Right away, that goes home first thing. That would come back. So we had a list of everyone who was not allowed to be photographed. No problem. Every teacher knew who was not allowed to be photographed, and we respected that. Every cluster, every science, whatever, computers, music, we all knew that. Where I am now in Scarsdale is actually called an opt-out district, meaning when you register, there's like a checkbox on the thing where you automatically agree to that. You have to sign a form to opt out, which is fine. Again, we have a list, and we know exactly who is not. And you totally got to respect it, of course.
Right.
But in the DOE, that thing should be going home, right? Like you guys, people say,
Yeah, the beginning of the year.
yeah, beginning of the year, that thing goes
Right.
home.
Put it in and it comes back on.
Yeah, and,
Right.
it says everything. It says like, photo, video, print, nonprofit, blah, blah, blah. And I think we even added social media to ours. Like
Yeah.
We even added Twitter just as a word. And even still, even if you get permission from everyone, which is awesome, you don't have to show faces, right?
Right.
We'll take a look at the Tagboard. You could take a picture over shoulders, kids' hands on work, right? We had an art teacher, one of the things she loved to do was she used Instagram, but she always took pictures of the kids with their finished work in front of their faces. Sort of as like, A, showing off their work, but B, how like that, their art is also part of their identity, right?
Right.
So even though you couldn't see their face, like their art was representing who they are as people. Which I
Right.
thought was a very cool idea.
Yeah.
So permission or not, like you don't have no idea who that person is.
Right.
But there are ways to do it without like,
Yeah, because my problem is that in the library, I've got 9 schools. I got 3,000 kids. I have no clue in life which kids have permission, don't have permission. I don't have any way of identifying.
you can probably ask somebody in the office who probably has that list. Well, you're in high school, too.
I've got 9 schools.
But are you also high school? Or
I've got 1 middle school, 9 high schools.
So I would ask the high schools. High schools might be a little bit different because they're over, like by senior year they have, they're 18, 17.
Some of them are over 18, some
So
of
I
them
don't
aren't.
know the consent type things. I would ask.
If they're 18, the kids can sign it themselves, so that's not an issue.
Then
But the kids that are under 18
hands-on
can't,
books, hands-on books.
right.
Kids at a distance. You can use apps like, like Instagram has that little blur feature. You can take a picture of just like kids in the library from a distance.
Yeah.
A little blur on it so you can't actually see or identify faces.
Yeah.
But you can see what's happening in that library.
Right,
Because that's the thing, you can tell that story of that room
Yeah.
without actually like taking
yeah,
selfies or
I just
close shots.
like the gaming days, I'd like to be able to show more of the gaming days and stuff like that,
The other thing you can do is that if kids take their own photos, you can say to them, here's the form, have your parent fill it out, take a picture of the form with your parent's signature on it, send me the image and form, and I'll post it.
Right.
And just let the kids be in charge of it. Like, oh, I would love to feature your face on the picture you just took, that's awesome, I need permission, here's the form, send
And
me
they
a
can
copy of
email
the
me
picture
the
and
form.
at the same time. And then you could start with just 10 kids
Sure.
and let the kids be in charge of it.
Yeah. I mean, there's
Right, and then they'll all want to.
They can email
and
me
then-
the form.
And then the kids will create the demand. And then if someone ever says to you, did you have permission to use this photo?
I've
you're
got
like,
the
well, here's
email.
the form that came with the photo.
Great.
Exactly, and you're also at the high school level. So you make this public and you make this as a positive thing, the kids might do it from their own accounts. You're not
Yeah,
even doing it, but they're contributing to that story on their own.
right,
Like the coolest thing that happens with this is when parents start tweeting cool things like on field trips. Because that means the parents aren't there just to be chaperones, they're actually engaged and involved, and they're on their own Instagram account or their own Twitter account taking a picture and they're hashtagging it, right? We've had parents on the weekend go to places and be like, oh my God, this totally reminds me of that project, and they take a photo, they tweet it, they mention their kid's teacher, and then they put the hashtag on it. And it's like, how engaged is that parent that on a weekend they see something that reminds them of school, and then they tweet a photo and mention it and put the school hashtag on it?
It's actually a great thing for Teacher Appreciation Week, is just to ask parents and kids, right? Like you can have a really nice parent engagement thing
Totally.
where parents talk specifically about what a teacher does or has done for their child. It would be a nice engagement strategy.
And that's that story, right? Because then that story is not that principal email letter once a week, once a month that goes out. That story is written by everybody, and it's transparent. It's not just like, oh, the month in review story. It's the 4 hours ago story, right? And we can jump over that. And so I'll show you that in a minute. So the thing is, like, you use social media as that outlet, right? It's powerful, it's free, it's promoted, right? Get it out there. Because otherwise, this room is the class, right? I'm the teacher, you're the students. If we're not periscoping it, if you guys aren't tweeting about it, who knows what we're doing? Nobody. Us. Right? My one biggest pet peeve, the one thing I totally loathe about teaching are like these things. Bulletin boards. Hate them. Oh, hang the student work on the bulletin board, celebrate the student. What? I'm not celebrating the student. I'm hanging something up so I can make my room look inviting. But how is that celebrating the student? I'm hanging up your work in front of you and everyone else who sees you all the time. To me, that's not celebrating. That's not publishing, too. Who sees it? Nobody sees it. You're hanging out on the bulletin board. We're on this. Now, I know we're in high school, but like we're on the 6th floor of high school. You hang the work on the bulletin board, who sees that work?
it's okay.
Like the 12 people who come to the 6th floor of high school, right? But if you're tweeting that work, if you're sharing that work through a hashtag, if you're doing something like that, then they're truly publishing, and they're really telling, like that, they're authors. And they're sharing that story, and that's a different dynamic, right? Because they're doing it, and they're doing awesome things, but they're going to the board, right? Or I always ask the kids, when the kids get involved with this, they're like, oh, whatever. I'm like, where does your work go when you're finished? Like, what do you mean? I'm like, you spend all this time on a project, you spend all this time on an assignment, a writing piece. Where's it go? You know what they all say? The garbage. They all know. They're like, some of them takes a minute to get there. They're like, well, goes in my folder. I'm like, okay, where's your folder? In my desk. And when you clean out your desk, I take the folder home. And when you get home, I take it out of my backpack. Like, oh, then it goes to the garbage. I'm like, right. But if you're promoting it, if you're tweeting it, if you're Vining it, Instagramming it, whatever it is, it's not going in the garbage. And then it's not just us who see it. Like the cousin in Killarney gets to see the work that they did, right? The aunt or uncle in California get to be like, oh dude, I saw your writing, it was awesome. Totally changed that dynamic. And it changes that narrative of what you're doing in your classroom and what your kids are doing. And it also, the biggest thing, is it changes that conversation from what did you do in school today to tell me about that thing I saw you do, right? Or tell me more about that thing we're working on. Because they know that they've been seen and they know that their story's out there and that they're being shown, right? So, but it's not just about social media, right? That's the output. So how can we create some of these stories aside from just snapping a photo? Now believe me, I'm huge. Twitter's super easy, right? You don't want to go down the app rabbit hole, no problem. Take a photo, this is what we're doing in class, tweet it. You're telling your story. You're sharing that because you're psyched about it, right? But there's also apps, right, that are kind of fun. And we'll jump around through it. So Adobe's got an awesome suite right now for the iPad and Android apps, or Android devices.
This whole is available?
Yeah.
This whole presentation?
Yeah.
On,
That live cube thing, and then I'll tweet it out too. I think I tweeted it out last night, but it's also on the agenda.
isn't that the Chris Casale project or something?
Something like that.
That's your,
Something.
something.
I'll make sure everyone has access to it, don't worry. It's totally, I mean, it's public, it's out there.
Keep writing.
I'll tweet it again. Yeah, you don't have to write everything down. I give stuff. I just give away my stuff. So Adobe has these three apps called Spark, right? Does anyone use Adobe Voice? Does anyone remember that name? So Adobe Voice was the original app, and we'll run through it in a second. They changed it to Spark. But we'll run through these quick. They're great ways to tell stories. And you can tell them in print, like just solid one-pager print. You could tell them in like linear magazine style print, or you can tell them with voice and pictures, right? So that's one way to do it. Canva's awesome. Does anyone use Canva? Love it?
I like it.
Right? I created these two posters in Canva. I created a bunch of stuff in Canva. We had Capstone, 5th graders, Canva, C-A-N-V-A. And Capstone was one of those like science fair project type deals, right? It's designed to be like that between the testing and the school, keep the kids engaged. They pick a project, they research it, find people to interview, they do a trifold board. Also a big sort of museum walk everyone comes through. So they spend like 6 weeks working on these awesome trifold boards, which then go where?
In the garbage.
Garbage. So we changed it up this year and we allowed them trifolds. Every kid had to do either build a website, make a movie, do a blog, or give it a night or a TED Talk. Right? Totally different dynamic. So what did we do? Right? What is this? I made posters that we tweeted. We posted on the Facebook page, the school website. We hung these around the building. So that as parents were coming through, even if they were like, I'm not sure what this CapCon is that Capstone? These were out there so we didn't have to keep constantly asking these questions. We told the story of what CapCon was with these posters. And actually this one ended up in the local newspaper and then actually was tweeted by like the local Hamlet Hub, like one of those, HubSpot type local websites, promoting it, right? People came and saw a big, like 36 by 50, whatever, this huge poster of that with all the kids and their 5th grade teachers on it. That was the story of Capstone. So Canva's great.
Wait, is Canva just to make posters?
Say again?
Is Canva just to make like posters?
Infographics, there's a ton of different templates. Collages, they have templates for like a Twitter header, so it's automatically sized for like what a Twitter header image would be, and they give you templates that you can adjust. You can start from totally blank. And we'll do a quick demo, I'll run through it live. What's that? Free. There's like a paid version. It's a lot of their high quality images, you gotta pay like $1 per image. I basically just use clip art and my own images, and it costs me nothing. And then I can download it as a PDF, I can download it as a JPEG, right? So it's easy. And then like, somebody wants to know what you're doing, you don't have to like, oh, let me write an email newsletter. You make something like this, you tweet it, you send it out, you put it on the website, whatever it is. That's gonna be way more engaging and descriptive of your story than that paragraph newsletter that parents are gonna be like, oh yeah, sweet, and not pay attention. Or at least I hope. I'm not exactly the best graphic designer. I love telegami. Does anyone use telegami? Telegami is cool because it's like an avatar that moves and talks. So kids, you can record, you can put your own classroom behind it. Really simple, really easy. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll make like little videos, like little tutorial videos for kids. And it might be like a screencast where I record my screen. But I'll do a quick Gami, that's what they're called. Where I'm like, hey, welcome to like Mr. Casal's new tutorial, enjoy. And the kids always giggle. Then I also kind of listen to focus. And then basically I just take this, which goes to my camera roll, and I just put it with my, in iMovie, like with my screencast. And then I'm done, and I have this cool animated character. And I can show you what that looks like. I'll show you what it looks like in a minute.
How long?
So there's 3 levels of Telegami. There's a free and EDU, which is like $4.99, and then a fully paid like $20 version. The free one I believe is 30 seconds. The EDU one I believe is 90 seconds. And I have them both, so you can double check. And then I think the $20 one, which I don't have, is like unlimited. And then the
But when
free
you quote those prices, are those app prices or monthly prices?
app.
App
Sorry,
prices.
app prices, yeah. And the free and EDU ones have a little ad at the end, like a little, made by Telegami. So what I always do is, I just record a bunch of, like when I'm done with my little narration, I don't stop recording, I just stop talking, let it record, so then I put it in the iMovie and I just cut it. And I just delete the little ads. Don't tell them. So I'm going to jump into the live demo stuff in a minute, but just so that you don't think that's the only stuff that I use, which might be good because some of you guys were my 60 apps in 60 minutes and I tend to go off the rails on these things. I have lots more, so there's tons of options. I have like 712 apps on my iPad, so there's tons of options. The ones I showed you and the ones I'm going to demo now are the ones I like the best and I think are the easiest and are mostly free, right? Because you can get Telegami for free, you can get you can do Canva for free if you're just using clip art and stuff. So I was kind of going that direction. Some of these have, different, pay scales depending on the app purchases and stuff. But those are the ones that I have, right? So just last thing too is commonsense.org. I've got a bunch of other stuff up there about telling a story with some other apps like Explain Everything. Can we use Explain Everything that I have? Explain Everything is probably if you're going to spend money on an app, spend it on Explain Everything. It's like $5-ish, $4.99. It kind of changes sometimes. Does anyone use it at all?
What is it called?
Explain Everything. Has anyone used Show Me or Edu Creations? Okay. So Explain Everything is like the MIT version, if that's the kindergarten version, right? So Explain Everything is a whiteboard that you can record. So like you can record your audio while you're drawing on it. But you can also put a video into it and have a video running while you're recording over the video. You can move the video around. It's crazy. So if we have time, we can go down the Explain Everything rabbit hole, which is like the awesomest rabbit hole ever. It's like an hour or more. But seriously, buy Explain Everything if you have an iPad. It'll be like, it does so much and it integrates with Dropbox and Drive and you can import, you can export, like super robust, right? So what we're going to do is, this is the story we've been telling, right? The NYCST story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over to the computer real quick, and we're going to take a look and see what that story is. Now, and what I'll do is, I'll show you, and then we'll jump around, we'll jump back to like some of the apps, and I'll demo some of the apps. So, this is the tagboard I created for this session, right? And there are, so this is our story. This is a story we all wrote together. We just wrote this. So we've got Lisa, Star, Tech Teach, AES Campus Library, Jay Hendrickson. We just wrote a story together. So if somebody's not in this room and they want to know what happened in this room, they don't have to ask any of us. They just go here. You are all authors, we are all authors of the same story, right? And it's there. And yes, and that's one of those, that's a different, and you can expand it on your own when you go to the website. I'll give you the full URL for it in a second. That's another Canva thing, I just did a little like how to post a tweet infographic for a PD. That's the story. And one thing that I know that always comes up is, well, what about like privacy, security? What about people saying bad things? knock on wood, there's probably no real wood around. In the 7 years I've been doing it, we haven't had an instance. Because who wants to be the guy that screws up this story? It's public, it's open, and it's not just me writing and people commenting, it's everybody. So if one person wants to be a knucklehead, they're probably next to them and like, dude, don't do that. Because they like the story that we're writing, right? Also, it drops. So like in our building, we have all but 2 teachers tweeting. So if anyone were to put something up, within an hour the thing would kind of fall off the bottom of the board. You wouldn't see it because it's such an active storytelling community, right? Did you have a question?
No, you answered it.
Okay. And yeah, and there are schools, there's a high school out in Illinois, Layden High School. So if any of you, so I'm elementary, right, but I've seen this in high school. Like Layden High School has Layden Pride, Leyden Pride is their hashtag. They tell that story. They hand the Layden Twitter account on an iPad to kids on a daily basis, and they'll go document our story, tell our story. And they can do that because this is the story that everyone's writing together, and no one wants to mess with that. Because you can't hide from that, it's public. Like we've all been in, and this is kind of where we started with this. Everyone's a tough guy at a PTA meeting. Right? Everyone's a tough guy like behind closed doors. Everyone's got a whatever. Everyone's gonna say something until somebody calls them on it. And then everyone gets quiet. Well, this is it. Like, if you're going to say it, you're not going to say something. The person who's going to get loud and mouthy and yell about whatever, they're not going to do it here because then it's public, right? And it's bound to them, and they're screwing up the story. So I love Tagboard. I'm a huge Tagboard guy, right? So any questions? Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you can.
The last one. If somebody, you're like the master of this, if somebody does something inappropriate, are you able to delete it?
So on the free version, no. On the paid version that we're doing at a district level, we're going to have ridiculous amounts of managerial control. So we're going to be able to like delete things. We're going to be able to mute people, like not actually block them, but just like disallow them from, if they want to, tons of control. It's an expense, but we're also doing it on a vast scale. So it's like, all right, if we're going to have 10 boards. We're going to have 7 individual school boards for each building. We're going to have a district board, and then we're going to have a couple spare ones for like a graduation hashtag if we want, or whatever. We're on such a scale, we're like, you know what, we're going to pay so that we can actually manage a little better.
I came in like 5 minutes late,
Yeah.
so maybe you started with this, but so in your classroom, like you like how do you encourage students to post it? Do you say like, I want everyone to do it, people who are interested should do it? Like, how do you frame like what kids should be writing, what is appropriate to write about, and how even to think about writing about the classroom?
So I'm elementary, right? So the kids aren't writing individually because the kids theoretically don't have social media accounts. Because theoretically, they're being honest about that 13 and over thing. Right? So we do it as a teacher standpoint. So our teachers are the tweeters. They're the ones telling the story. They're the ones using the hashtag. Right? My theoretical goal is that by the time the kids get to a point where they're in middle school and have their own device, they understand how to tell that story positively, and that they'll be doing it themselves with the middle school hashtag. My goal is to kind of make this an ingrained thing. So right now the kids aren't doing it. And if a student does, they're doing it via my account. Like I'm going to hand them an iPad with my class Twitter account on it, and it's going to be like a rules of routine thing where they like propose it, they show it to me, we approve it, we talk about it, and then they tweet it. There are ways to structure it too. I'll add it to this, there's a great blog, edtechtofu, like TOFU, .blogspot.com, and it's a guy I work with, actually, John Calvert, and he's got an awesome, really easy thing that you can set up where kids can fill out a Google form that goes to a spreadsheet, and it's what they want to tweet. And then when you go into the spreadsheet, you basically just click on a button to approve things, and then it'll auto-tweet. So it's a way for them to compose a tweet in a Google form, give you, the teacher, approval access, and once you approve it, it auto-generates a tweet from the class account. So there's ways to manage those types of things. Now again, are you at the high school level?
High school, yeah.
So you would sort of, I would say, especially for high school, if this is something you really want to get into, look at something like Layden Pride as an example of how they just promote it. They just say, like, we want to share our awesome with you. We want to show everyone the great things we do. Here's our hashtag. And then you kind of got to take a leap of faith and just know that there might be a knucklehead, but in general, especially if this is your front-facing thing, this is your broadcast medium, no one's gonna wanna be the knucklehead that's like proven to be the knucklehead.
This is what you should check out, which one?
This is Tagboard.
No, you should check.
Leyden Pride, LEYDENPRIDE, that's their hashtag. And theirs is rad, they've been doing theirs for a long time, and it's cool, because like, they are basically completely unfettered. Like I said, they hand kids iPads. And they're like, you're in charge of the school Twitter account today, go tell the story of today. That's great, you know, and then that builds that community, and it helps to further that story of being a positive thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Especially that.
Yeah. Do these students get invites, or is this an open forum?
This is open and public.
So, question would come to mind. I teach middle school.
Yep.
And you do have some of those knuckleheads.
Yep.
And you say that they don't want, they're ruining the story, but a lot of times middle school,
Yep.
they're very bright, they make fictitious names.
Yep.
And they sign on under an alias.
Yep.
So you never know who they are. I'm sure their friends do. But, the admin and the teachers might not for a significant amount of time. And if you can't erase it, in real time, it can be almost like, cyberbullying, which could be problematic.
Of course.
What do we do?
And those are the types of things where I'm not saying go out tomorrow, do this, set this up, and this is your platform. You're going to have to sort of take some of these ideas and decide which is going to work best in your setting.
Why not just use a Facebook closed group?
So the reason why I don't like closed things is because then there's going to be somebody who's going to wonder why it's closed and why you're hiding it, right? With this being open, nobody has to join in. A parent does not have to join to be part of the story, right? What if you have a parent who's like, I don't use Facebook?
Well, we have communities in our school. We use that. I forget the name. I've been on vacation for a couple
Google
of weeks.
Plus?
No, Schedule.
Okay.
And we use it as a means of communication, and it's closed unless you have a school account.
Right.
So we don't have, if anything, we're protecting the kids. I understand what you're saying, going public and this and that, but like you said, leap of faith could be problematic in a lot of areas. Thus, technology can be,
Right.
and also helpful. I'm just a little
And that's the
nervous
thing,
on
you'll
that
have
leap.
to, right, you'll have to feel that out for yourself. The way I've always approached it is, we have locked places where student data is. Our Google Drive that the students use, they can't share outside the domain. They can't, right? They can't publish, like they can't even do a public publishing. Google Drive is our locked, private place, they have no access to it. We also have like the Infinite Campus, we have a bunch of other things, right, that are like where student data is and that's hidden. But the premise behind this is that if everything's behind a wall, we're not changing that dynamic. And nobody's knowing what we're doing unless it's that parent. And then everyone's operating in these individual little silos, and there's no one, like everyone's only having their own experience. We're not having it together. When it's open, it's something like this, at least for us, and again, you sort of have to navigate kind of that community and that vibe. For us, when I started doing it in the city, huge leap of faith. And I literally did it because we were getting irate phone calls about what programs we were canceling. I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, but we heard, but I'm not on that email, but I'm not on that list. We're like, okay, we don't want to manage the list permissions. Because you have those closed groups, you then got to have somebody who's going to manage every time a student enrolls or leaves, which parent email changes, all that stuff. It's like the blue cards, right, with the phone numbers. Whereas with this, you don't have to do that. And it's that transparency of like, I'm going to put this out there because we're transparent about what we're doing because we're confident in the awesome things we're doing. So yes, middle school, I taught middle school my first 2 years teaching, so I totally get that dynamic. You'll have to play around. Maybe having a hashtag is something you start with, and you don't do a tag board, right?
I do like a pilot program with kids that you might trust first.
Right, maybe you scale it up. When I did it, and believe me, I'm 7 years into this, so like, I started this in Brooklyn, and it was me and one other teacher. We started tweeting. We said, let's get a hashtag for the school, let's see what happens. We kind of did a couple things. Then I found Tagboard, and I was like, I'm gonna make one of these, can you guys like, then I found a second teacher, so there was 3 of us doing this. And then we were doing it, and we're like, this is kind of cool. And then I made a little flyer with our handle and our hashtag and stuff. And before I even put that flyer out there, parents were starting to use the hashtag at like field day events. Because they had just seen it. They had just been following and paying attention to like teacher accounts, and they were savvy enough. So like, knock on wood, like I said, I've had great experiences. And you'll definitely have to navigate that. But yeah, I wouldn't like go that tomorrow and be like, here's my board, here's my hashtag, everyone do it.
Okay.
Get a sense of your building, get a sense of the dynamic, and get a sense of what's going to work. Because at the end of the day, you need to tell your story. And how you tell your story is not necessarily how I tell mine. And that's cool, there's nothing wrong with that. So like, but give it a shot, and at least try, and see what you can do, and you might actually change some of those knuckleheads into positive contributors, because when they know that they can, like, dude, you're a published author. What are you talking about? Like, this is public. Do you have any relatives anywhere else in the world? Yeah? Tell them to go here and they can see what you wrote. That starts changing that dynamic, and the kids start getting very like thoughtful and intense about their writing and about what they do, because they're proud of that, and it changes that dynamic. Is that a question?
Yeah, can we take a look at some of the stuff that you said you were going to do by pizza? Is that possible?
Yeah, the like the apps and stuff.
Sure.
You want me to jump to that? Yeah.
Just a follow-up, we were just talking about, I have some of the similar concerns about moderation. Tagboard, or, you said a closed Facebook group is no good, so I sort of agree, but how about like just an open Facebook group? So maybe you can have like moderators, you can erase stuff. Does Tagboard just let you put more stuff up there versus like a long stream of a Facebook
There's that, but
page?
there's also, I don't know why it's not showing up, but the thing about Tagboard is it's not platform dependent. Tagboard will pull in Instagram, Vine, Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and Flickr. So if you have a Facebook group, that's cool, but then everyone has to go to the Facebook group, and Facebook is the only place. Whereas this becomes the only place, but I'm letting people decide which tool they want to tell that story, and it's going to go to the one place. That's why I like this. Because like I said, in the past I've had art teachers who love Instagram. Well, if they only use Instagram, not Facebook, you then have taken those teachers out of your story.
And so a parent could post to this with knowing the hashtag, right? You say you manage your elementary school students, but like anybody with the hashtag, like I could post to it right now if I want to.
And I've had that. I've done this type of presentation at like conferences in other states during the school year, and like random people are in my section like, oh, it's a great Tagboard, love you, go pride, and their stuff showing up. But we've taken such effort and thoughtfulness to make this a part of our day that even though people are posting positively, it disappears within like an hour because so much is happening and so many stories are being told that it ends up going away.
So that
But-
it doesn't say it just.
No, so on the free version, it only pulls the Twitter data for as long as Twitter allows, which is I believe between 7 and 14 days, and then it goes blank. So if you have the free version, right now, yours will be blank. Because like nobody's tweeting through your building.
So is there an archive then, if someone wanted to look back at a kid's project from like, the winter, like they would just.
On the free version of Tagboard, no. On the free version, no. Now, technically, they could go to that teacher's Twitter account and look back and see it. But the one nice thing about this is that it's live. It's a living bulletin board of what's happening right now, right? And then it goes away. Now, what I can do is I'll show you what the Heath Code, what it looks like with a little bit of the management. We haven't been fully updated yet. We're still sort of building the back end stuff. But on the fully built one, we have a feature button and a latest. Latest is what's coming in live. So on the paid version, you get a separate button, right? So the featured one, you actively promote. The featured things get saved. Like once I feature something, then Tagboard saves that data. It'll live up here for a year, 10 years, whatever. If I click over latest, I come over here. Now, I'm not logged in as the owner of this account. If I was, I would have like a checkbox so that I could move it to the featured thing. I would have a trash can if I wanted to delete it, stuff like that. With the paid version, I'm also gonna have other moderation tools where I'll be able to actually like mute the user, right? I'm not blocking them, I'm not doing anything to their account. I'm just basically telling Tagboard to not allow their tweets or their posts to populate on my board. So yeah, it's that issue of like, okay, there's free things are cool, but there's always a reason to pay. So you sort of have to navigate that for yourself in your building. Like, is it something, maybe you try it out for a little bit on the free version, you see how it goes. If it becomes a real positive thing like we've seen, that's why we got to the point where it was like, you know what? This could be pretty awesome in the district. superintendent, kindergarten teachers to superintendent, everyone was like, okay, we get it, we see it. Let's make that leap to the paid version so we can have some more management because we're doing it across some more buildings and things of that nature. So if nothing else, try it out. And again, I'm not saying, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say like everyone needs to go out and do this. There are those other platforms that you can play around with and things like that. It's just trying to show you ideas of how you can kind of tell that story and make sure that you're the one telling the story and not somebody else, you know? So there's that. So what I'll do is I'll show you, I'm going to jump over here real quick and I'll show you Canva. So this is Canva. So these are all these things I've created in Canva, right? I can create a design, and what it's going to do is it's going to give me presets, right? So if I want a Facebook cover photo, right, you know how they're very specific sizes? That's the very specific size. Like, it has templates for these things. And when you go into them, like, if I were to do, let's say I wanted to do a magazine, I'm going to open that up, and what it's going to do is it's going to build it, and it's going to build the template. And I can then remove these, right? It's going to give me different layouts and styles, right? When that, it's still loading. And then I can change those. But it basically takes their style guide and their graphic design, leaves it, and lets me edit it. So if I want, like, if I like that black and gold because that happens to be my school's colors or whatever, I could take that and then manipulate the cover, put up my own photo, but then I basically have their setup, their style, right? So one of the things I did, I'll actually show you a concrete example, is this one. I thought this blog graphic was pretty cool. I liked the way it was done. We'll load in a second. And I had to, when I went to, since I left the city, I had to redo the tenure process, right? So I had to do the tenure again. So I had to do a tenure portfolio. So I was like, I don't want to do a portfolio. I'm not a printout guy. I'm not a binder guy, you know? How can I do it? And I said, how can I do it ironically, right? I'm going to not do it digitally. I'm going to give them a piece of paper. So what I did was I found that blog graphic. I don't know why that template's not loading. Let me see if it's here. So I want to show you what the original template looked like and then how I tweaked it. Unless that template's gone. Because what I did was try loading it again. Alright, it's not loading, but what I'll do is this. I'll show you. So if you look at this Lauren Holden one, right? It's a blog graphic. So it gives me this template. A picture in a circle, a title, a bar, a couple little icons, right? It gives me this thing. So what I did was, I went and I changed that and I tweaked it so that way my tenure portfolio became this. So this became my tenure portfolio. I took all of those static elements, right? And then I just dropped my photo in, and it did all the sizing, it did all the little color stuff for me. I have the bar, I left the color scheme basically the same, so I was like, this is the first one I did in Canva. But then I had these little icons, right? So I just changed the text. And I found ones that were relevant. I was able to put in other ones, right? I was able to put in different things. So all of these things link. So actually when you make it a PDF, when I made it a PDF, I emailed it to the superintendent of HR, my principal. They could click on any of these things from within the PDF that would launch the website. But I also did the QR code, so that way if I gave it to them on a piece of paper, they could have a device and they could scan it. So I actually sent my principal into my tenure review, which I wasn't there for, with a piece of legal size paper and an iPad for the tenure review for the new computer teacher. She was like, are you sure? I'm like, I'm good. I got tenure. Right? But it's just nice because you can create these infographics, these things, you know, different things. It doesn't have to be an infographic, right? It could be anything. It could be, you know, like those Twitter things, those, you know, Facebook headers. You can take one of these, and when you take it, you just change it, and then you just edit your stuff. You just change it to be what you want. So it looks great. Tell your story with their template, right? And it has things like elements. So now this is where the free thing goes. So you got free photos, right? They're actually decent, right? You can upload your own. So I can actually go through and I can look, and I just uploaded my teacher photos for that capstone poster, right? I uploaded kids, I uploaded QR codes, whatever. But what's also cool is they have these icons. All different kinds of icons like these. And you can search. Like you can search Twitter, they're going to show that there's like 4 free Twitter icons. And what's cool about them is when you drop them on, you can change the color. You can resize them. You can make them clickable. You can do all those things. There are things that are paid, and they'll sort of show you, and they're like $1 a piece or whatever. But, I mean, there's a ton of stuff, right? So Canva's great. Let me, just so we don't run out of order, I just realized we're running close to time.
10
I'll show
minutes.
you some of the apps real fast. So, one of my favorites is Adobe Spark Video. And I love Spark Video because it lets you make a really quick or long flipbook. So what I can do is, we'll do this in real time, I'm just going to do a plus, and we'll call this NYC SchoolsTechSummit, right? This is my favorite part about it, especially in like English classes, or any class really. It gives you structure. So if I want to teach a lesson, I'm going to do a teach a lesson template. I can do a blank one. When I do teach a lesson, I pick this one. What it's going to do is at the bottom, it's a little tough to see, it gives me an outline and a framework. So it says overview, concept, example, explanation. So it gives me a guide of how I'm going to tell that particular story. So you can have a blank one, which is blank slides, or you could always go, whoops, and instead of teach a lesson, I'm going to go to a hero's journey. I'm going to change the template. Now it says setup, call to adventure, challenge, climax, right? So what it does is it helps give you some guidelines for how to do this. And then literally all I have to do is I'll do this, I'll do, let's take a picture. Do that, a photo. I can resize it. I'll say, welcome to the session. Call to adventure. I'll do another photo. I can pull one from my iPad and I'll say, I don't know, that. No, it's not snowing, not that adventurous. Challenge, and what I'll say is, we'll do text and thanks, right? I won't do the full thing. Say thanks, click done, right? Now I want to play it. Welcome to the session. No, it's not snowing, not that adventurous. So I can make this little flipbook, right?
And which app is this?
This is Adobe Spark Video. And see how it gives me that little thing? If I wanted to, I can keep editing. When I'm ready to get it out, what I generally do is I do the little share thing, but I don't share it, I just download it to my camera roll, I toss it in iMovie, I chop off their ad, and then I have it, right? So that's a ton of fun. I'll show you a couple that I have real fast. Like, I did this actually I did this at an Apple PD event. And what's cool about it is that it's Adobe, so it's free. Adobe's basically said, we're not going to charge for our apps. They want you to basically pay for the upgraded version, which is like get rid of that little thing at the end. But I made this cool little flipbook. And of course, I'm the knucklehead who goes to Apple and uses the Adobe app to make a presentation at Apple's media. Whatever. I did this and everyone's like, wow, what's that app? I was like, it's an Adobe app. They're like, what's that? And you can change the music, right? There's music, there's tons of stuff you can pull from your own identity. You can tweet it, you can upload it to YouTube. There's tons of stuff, right? Adobe Spark Paint, I'll do Spark Post because that's a little bit easier. It's kind of like Canva, where you can choose different grids, right? So I can choose that and then just change the picture and change the text, right? And then I can save it as an image, right? So I can take a look at my post. So I made this yesterday.
That's the Adobe Spark post.
This is a Spark Post. I chose a size. I chose a free background image, and I took one of their text templates, and I just changed the text and I resized it. right? This is another one that I did. I just took a different picture and I used a different textual element, right? And then same thing, you can just save them out as images, you can share them, things like that. There's also little animations on them, so if you have that live photo functionality on the iPhone 6 and above, you can actually view almost like an animated GIF on it with pictures floating around.
Are these cross-platform or just Apple?
Adobe's cross-platform. And some of these, what the nice thing about Adobe is, they make you register for their Creative Cloud, but it's free. It's like cloud-based. So I can jump on my laptop, log into the Creative Cloud, and I can see the projects I've worked on, and then it's still working.
Unlimited storage.
Yeah, I honestly, they keep tweaking and changing that. I think so, because they're kind of, they have these awesome apps. They want to kind of push them to like, get you to pay for the updated version. There's the free photos are fine. Their paid photos are way better, right? So there's elements in there. Spark Page is also cool. I haven't played around a lot with it because I'm just bad at visual design. But it's the type of thing where you can start it out and you can do like a newsletter. And what's cool is when you're doing it and when it loads, it can be the type of thing with a magazine article that scrolls through, but you can have like a floating infographic box that floats down with it. You know, you can scroll through and your text goes from this linear text to a photo. So I can just, so this is the article, right? So I can change just the images and the pictures. And see how it kind of like floats and then reveals? It gives you those textual elements. So you then could post this and publish it, and like you would have a document that would have these kind of cool features, right? And then you can tweak where they go, how they come in, you know, things like that, right? So it's fun. It's just a different way to tell the story. You're creating the story. Social media is the way to share the story. The last one I'll do real fast is Telegami, because I like that one. So I have two. I have the free one and the ED. I'll show you the free one real quick. Download the free one and play around with it. The free one just limits what you get. So I get this guy. I can do gender, right? So I can change gender. I can do skin tone. I only have a couple. The $4.99 version, you get a couple more. The nice thing about the EDU version is that it strips out in-app purchases. The free version has in-app purchases, so if you were to do it, you want to be careful that you're not like spending $1 million, right? But what's cool is I can tweak it a little bit, and then I can actually come over, and once I'm done, I can then say, so I got 30 seconds to record, I'm going to record and say, this is very stern me in my New York School Technology Summit presentation. Grrr. This is very stern me in my New York School Technology Summit presentation. Right, what I can do too is with the background, if I wanted to, I can just toss in this. Right? And then now, if I wanted to, I can share it. I can save it to my camera roll. It's going to take a minute to create. You got to leave the app open. It's going to tack on a little native Telegami thing at the end. That's why once I'm done with my little script, I don't hit stop recording right away. I let it go for like an extra 5 seconds. Dump it into iMovie, chop it off. Right? So now if I come back here, I just go to my camera roll and this is very stern technology so you can use that. That's why I record some blank space, then in my movie, I can just chop it out, then I can share it, I can do whatever I want with it. I can also show you real fast because I know we're just about out of time. Like I have an actual Telegami like folder. So like here's some other things I've done. Let's say this is my Telegami and this is the ELA writing workshop apps SDI course and it's radio. So you can create like a fun little version of you with like your classroom in the background. It's like a welcome type thing with the kids talking about privacy. If you have iPads in your room and you have something like this, the kids can report themselves and do it, but it's not really themselves. As long as they're not saying their full names and stuff like that, right? So those are just a handful of things. What I'll do is, I think there might have been one more. So I hope that was useful. I'm sorry if we sort of ran out of time. I'm happy to hang out and keep talking to people. But the key is, if you're not telling your story, if you're not driving your own narrative, somebody else will. So figure out ways that you can do that. Whether they be simple, it's like just Twitter, or whether they're like creating a Spark video to talk about your classroom and then share that somehow. But don't make the bulletin board the only place your kids publish. For them and for you, like you guys are doing cool things that people need to know about, right? So I'll put my contact information up. Feel free to hang out, ask me questions, reach out to me. Twitter's the Mr._Casal is where I am mostly. The Heathcote Tech is just what we do in our lab. The About Me has a bunch of other stuff, the blog, all those types of things. So I hope it was useful. I hope you guys got something out of it. Thank you guys. Reach out anytime.